What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going over a new piece of studio gear that I got, and it's entirely Robert Baker's fault that I got it, a little bit Shawn as well. So I'm kind of late to the game in getting into the virtual cab world, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've been not wanting to do, because I've always loved the sound of, you know, like real speakers and everything, and I was always kind of like a purist, like I gotta have a tube amp and I gotta have real speakers. Well, the tube amp still applies to my playing. It's just a mentality thing, I think, that I gotta have glass pushing my amp. But after talking to both Shawn and Robert about it, they kind of persuaded me to try the virtual cab side of things. And I've kind of been doing it now for a couple months, ever since I've talked to them about it. But the more and more that I tried it, I really started to like it. So I borrowed a load box from a friend of mine, and it was the Bugera PS1, and it was a great piece of equipment, and it sounded great. It didn't really affect my guitar tone or anything. That was kind of one of the main things that I was worried about switching to, like using a load box. And then I was using cabinets inside of Cakewalk, which I'll show you guys in a second. And they didn't sound too realistic to how my amp actually sounded. I think it was a matter of I didn't really know how to use the software in Cakewalk for the cabinets and everything. So eventually I switched over to the 2 Notes Torpedo wall of sound, and that sounded great. I was able to grab pretty much the same cabinet that I use with my Dr. Z amp. So it was a Celestion, what is it, the G12? It's the Vintage 30 like Heritage model. And that's probably my favorite speaker. I love the way that my Dr. Z sounds with it and everything. So I was able to grab a cabinet in the wall of sound, and it was only like $8. So I was completely happy with it. And after a while, I was like, well, I'd like a unit where I can have the presets built in. So that leads us to today's video, and the new studio gear is the 2 Notes Torpedo Live, and it is in my rack unit. So we'll kind of walk through everything, and I'll walk you guys through the different tones that I'm getting out of it. And hope you guys enjoy this video, as always, and hope you find it informative on virtual cabinets. And if you're somebody like me who was having a hard time coming into the 2010s with virtual cabinets and everything, maybe this will kind of persuade you and kind of push you in that direction as well. And I have to say that I like it so much now, and I feel like it's so realistic to how my amp actually sounds that it gives a truer sound than miking up my cabinet with like a Sennheiser E609 does. So that's kind of why I'm moving in this direction. And I like it so much that I'm going to use it live too. I'm not going to use the Torpedo Live. That's going to stay here in the studio. I actually bought the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor 8, so that's the load box, and then I also got the Torpedo Cab pedal. So I'm going to run those two on a separate board on stage with my Dr. Z, and I think it just sounds great compared to miking up a real cabinet. So let's kind of walk through how I run this stuff in the DAW and everything, and I'll show you guys like what I'm doing now. So here we go. Alright guys, so the rig that you heard in the opening song, or whatever you'd call it, was just the 66 335, and then we're going into kind of my standard rig, which is the True Tone Root 66 compressor and overdrive, going into the Joyo Space Verb for a little reverb, and going into the Maz 18 by Dr. Z, which is now going into the 2 Notes Torpedo Live. And this is the unit here. So let's kind of talk about it a little bit. So I was kind of ignorant to the whole virtual cabinet thing, and you know, Robert's a good buddy of mine, and up until about a year ago, I kind of just assumed that he recorded videos like I did, like miking a guitar cabinet, and I was like, man, that must be loud. But No. So he's been using virtual cabinets with the Torpedo Live now for several years, and I just think that it sounds great, and Robert kind of taught me about like how to use it and everything, and I went to him when I was kind of trying to decide which load box and cab simulator I wanted to get, and he suggested the 2 Notes Torpedo Live because, you know, obviously that's the one that he uses, so that's why we're putting the blame on him. And also Shawn when I talked to him, he was kind of like, you're not going to get a truer sound out of your Dr. Z with miking it than you will if you're using like a cab simulator like the Torpedo Live. So Shawn actually kind of recommended the aux box, but I wanted something that I could put in the rack down here just because I thought it would look cool with my rack, and I also wanted to just kind of stick to the 2 Note stuff. I'm sure the aux unit is really great, and I've heard a lot of great things about it. Eventually I'd like to get one, but for now I really like the Torpedo Live. So let's kind of look here on my computer. Hope you guys can see it here. So what I used to do is we'd use the TH3 plug-in with Cakewalk. So what I've got in TH3 right now is just some delay, and that's it's not even getting used right now. But like if you go up here, I used to go to cabinets and stuff, and the only cabinet that really worked for me for a while was the 412 Modern US cab, and that's what it looks like right there. Okay, so I didn't really know how to go about using these, and you know, I was running just a signal with the Dr. Z into a load box into Cakewalk, and then trying to run this modern 412 cab, and I didn't even realize that one of the mics was, you know, behind the speaker, and that's why it was sounding completely muddy. And so I just wasn't too impressed with the cabinets that was in this. So we remove that, and then we go to add effects here, and we can't do it right now, I guess. So we ended up going with the Wall of Sound by 2 Notes, and that sounded great and everything. Well, like I said, I wanted to be able to control stuff right from the unit that I was using, as well as with the computer. So what we ended up downloading here, and I don't know why I'm saying we, because it was just me, but like here's kind of the plug-in, I guess you'd call it, and what it looks like. So right now I'm using a single Celestion G12 Vintage 30, and it sounds so true to how my amp actually sounds, and I was just so impressed with it. So like here's the clean sound. Okay, and then if we add a little overdrive to it. Alright, that sounds great. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to switch over to this was there are a couple. So, I'm not great at miking up guitar cabinets. And I feel like if you really want the true sound of your amp, you're going to have to go with the classic combination that's an SM57 and a Royer 121. I have a 57, but I don't have a Royer 121, and those are like $1,200. So to get the true sound of my amp, you're looking at a lot of money. But on top of that, you know, I could spend that, because I have spent that really between the Torpedo Live and now I'm getting the cab and the captor. So I have spent just about that much, but the other reason why I wanted to go this route is because now I can play at any volume I want. I can crank up my tube amp, it can sound great, and you know, I barely have the monitors on down here while I'm recording this. I mean, it's super quiet. So that's kind of nice, you know, when everybody's asleep at like 3 in the morning, if I want to come down and play guitar, I can do it. I can plug in my headphones, and it sounds just fantastic. Now, the other advantage to it is on stage. So, with the Captor 8 that I'm getting and the cab pedal, I'm going to put those on a small pedal board, and they're just going to sit right on top of my Dr. Z. And I'll be completely quiet on stage. You know, I'm not one of those guys that has to have sound pushing up against me. In fact, I'd rather it didn't, because I use in-ears and I can hear the real sound of my amp with these products by 2 Notes. So just completely, you know, blown away with how well they work. And right now, you can see in here, I said I'm using a G12 speaker. It's a 112 Celestion cabinet. And, you know, another reason why I wanted to go this route was because when I was miking up cabinets, I was having to do a bunch of post-EQing to make it sound like my amp actually sounded. And listening to Tim Pierce and Shawn Tubbs, none of those guys do post-EQing, and I really didn't want to anymore. Just because I feel like you're kind of manipulating the sound that way. So with this, I have the EQ completely off, the power amp is off, and the reverb's off. We can turn it on here and kind of add in some reverb to it. So this is what it sounds like with reverb. And actually, we'll turn my reverb pedal off if I can reach here. So let's turn up that reverb sound. Okay, but I do my reverb tones from my pedal. I like the reverb to come before the amp, and that's only for the Dr. Z, because the Black Star and the Machete, they both have built-in reverb, and I use those reverb units inside those amps. So, other than that, it's a pretty simple setup. I'm using a Royer 121 in here, and I'm also using a SM57 style mic, and they're both at unity levels, and the distance, I've got the distance on the SM57 like 1% away from the cabinet, and I've got the axis at 2%, okay, and then the distance and axis are both at 0 on the Royer 121, and I think it just sounds great. So here's a little delay tone with it. There you guys have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative on using like a load box and using virtual cabinets. And if you guys have any questions, I'm not an expert with these yet, but leave a comment down below, and if I can help you out in any way, I will definitely do that. Thank you to Robert Baker and Shawn Tubbs for kind of talking me into going in this direction. And yeah, I'm really excited. You know, it's a lot more fun to record videos this way and to record my guitar for whatever I'm doing, because I really feel like I'm getting the real sound of my amp. So thank you to 2 Notes for making such quality products and everything. And until next time, guys, we'll see you. Have a great one, and keep on rocking.